Nigerians is the current President General of Hanese, who is talking on this program. Am I correct? Secondly, during President Jonathan, what stopped us from pressing him to restructure Nigeria? The National Conference of 2014, what stopped the three most important things that should have been done for it to make sense? One, why was there no law at the National Assembly to dictate what will happen with the process of that conference? Two, why were the delegates they are not elected? Three, why was the proceeds not even presented to National Assembly? Now, if we are serious about restructuring, this is the way we should go. We said that the South is the South, the Niger Delta, and the Middle Belt. If that represents a member of the House of Reps from Southeast, South-South, Southwest, and Middle Belt, put down their feet National Assembly that Nigeria must be restructured. Nigeria will be restructured, and nobody can stop it.
Thank you very much.
Buhari government. The representatives in National Assembly are supposed to be the ones we will apply to get to where we want.
Thank you. I think your questions are well noted. So I'm going to bring, just for the sake of time, we ran out of time now. I'm going to bring the next person, Brian.
Okay.
Please go ahead.
Hello, everybody.
Yes, make it very snappy, please.
Okay, I'm going to try to be as quick as possible. My name is Bryant Eziamama Agubalu. I am Assistant DSG in the Youth Department of Igbo World Assembly. I'm based here in Miami, Florida. I would like to greet all the leaders and greet all the industrious and enterprising Yoruba people on here. And I would also like to say Igbo Kwenu to all the Igbos on here. I just have three main topics I want to go over. First of all, Nigeria right now is religio-political authoritarianism, and religio-political authoritarianism being where one religion is dominant over all the other religions. This is even apparent in the Constitution, where only one religion is dominant. And so the fight against religio-political authoritarianism is an important fight in Nigeria. Now, moving on. I would also like to address where we discuss. I would like to discuss God over Nigeria and people claiming that God ordained Nigeria and things like that. First of all, there's mainly two religions in Nigeria, and there's two main religions, and we don't serve necessarily one God. So how can God be over one Nigeria when that's confusion? So I don't think that's necessarily true. The last thing I would like to say is that to address the issues that we have in the South, our security issues, we need to develop our economic base. We must also develop a credible threat of use of force, and that we have to do that to be taken seriously. That's just the necessity to be taken seriously.
Okay.
Just time and okay, that's all I would like to say. And
okay, thank you very much.
Yes, Southern unity. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So on that note, I'm going to be bringing Tolu Ayorinde. Now, Tolu.
Yeah, thank you very much. I would first like to thank our elders. My name is Tolu Ayorinde. I'm speaking from New York City. As a public educator here, I've been in this kind of discourse with different groups, and I'm glad when I heard about this. I'm happy to be here. To be honest with you,
Tolu, can you put on your video, please? Put on your video. We want to see you.
Okay. All right. Okay, this is me. So now, my takeaway from this is this: COVID-19, it's like a tidal wave, like a giant tidal wave that has came to suck, water out of the ocean floor in Nigerian situation. It's now revealing all these ugly and uncomfortable realities that we are discussing today. I'm glad we had this opportunity in our generation to discuss this. This is a national discourse, but it's a good thing that we're starting in this forum, okay? And I appreciate our elders that have been telling us what they've been through, the history of the constitution and everything that has been in the past. But I want to say this, please, it's just my own opinion, that moving forward, from now on, can we, as tomorrow of Nigeria, start this coalition in a more cohesive way, whereby we will have representations to go to the House of National Assembly to place all this in front of them and have this national discourse to everybody and televise, and the whole world will hear us out, then we can hammer on this important issue. The future of our country is in jeopardy. COVID-19 has only come to reveal what is already existing. This has been existing for years. Thank you, Dr. Miniko. Dr. I knew you when you were local government chairman. That was when I started following you. And I'm happy to see a lot of our elders here today saying the same rhetorics. So please, my own take to this is, when are we going to just form a coalition that will first initiate this discussion with the federal government? I mean, I know diplomacy works. Let's start from that path. And I want to just throw that out there to be my own contribution. I appreciate everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So the next person is Utman Oyabanji. Can you unmute yourself? Dan, can you help? It appears no, I'm not able to. What's happening? Okay, if Oyabanji is not.
I'm looking for, sorry, what's the name again? Otman, isn't it?
Otman Oyabanji. Then Pauline Aneke and Ayola Lawal Obiosuji, get ready. Pauline, please go ahead with your question.
Okay. Hello.
Go ahead, please. Go ahead.
Okay. This issue we are discussing, good evening, everyone. The problem is not just for the South, because it's now ravaging the North. Katsina, Zamfara, Borno, all of that North Central, Northeast. The youths are now.
Please?
Sorry?
Can you start your video, please? I've asked you to start your video.
Okay. Can you see me?
No.
Okay, yeah, you have. Okay, I will let you know.
Well,
go ahead.
Oh, okay. So the youths of up north are now in Enugu, which is setting the state as a gunpowder. If you come around that area, you see youths who are supposed to be in school. They're all in Enugu now. All everywhere, full of northern youths. And this is a very big problem for us within the state. Their marginaries are coming down. These are children who are supposed to be in school, and we're supposed to be our brother's keeper. Okay. And that's what we need to do.
Okay,
so we need to be proactive about this and know that these are human beings also. We need to treat them as human beings, please. Thank you.
Obiosiji, you are on now. After you, Ayola, please.
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Just 30 seconds.
Okay, fine. Okay, fine. This question is actually directed to Yinka Odumakin. Mr. Odumakin, you're a man that I so much appreciate. You've done so much, even at the time you have come into the scene. I know over time you must have gathered some kind of, experience and knowledge. And the specific question is this, sir. What do you think is the basic things that we can put in place to generate a critical mass of movement, that can begin to jumpstart the realization of our dreams for a more restructured country, Nigeria? Allow me to ask a second question too. The second question is, and I think I would rather want to direct that to Chief Nneamwodu. And the question is this: what if the argument is put in place that the problem of Nigeria may not necessarily be about our constitution? What if the problem is actually about the people, those who have various rules to bring about good governance? That is a matter of greed, selfishness, and corruption, and that we don't need to restructure. What would be your take, sir?
Thank you very much. Ayola Lawal, please, can you unmute yourself? Ayola Lawal, can you unmute yourself? 30 seconds, please. Ayola, go ahead with your question.
Okay, my name is Ayola Lawal, speaking from Sweden, Scandinavia. First and foremost, I want to commend and really thank our fathers, John Umubodo and Adebanjo, for their effort upon us. And basically, mine is just kind of a suggestion that already they have already put the ball in our court.
Yola, please, can you put on your video on, please?
My video is on, right?
No, it's not.
No, it's not. Put it on, please. I'm trying to.
Let me just.
All right, it's on now.
Now it's on now. Go ahead. Sorry,
Okay.
before we continue, any other person raising your hand, please, before we actually put on your video, we need to see our faces. We need to see the face of the person asking the question. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much. I think first and foremost, as I've really commended our fathers for their efforts, I think they already put the ball in our courts. We don't need to be going back. When the Yoruba man was there, no restructuring. Somebody from Southwest was the president, no restructuring. And definitely when somebody from the North now in power, who is also a Fulani, who initiated reconciliation committee, but never followed, just jettisoned the report. But now, how do we here, starting from here this night, form a coalition and see how we can move this thing forward? You know, I think that is my own suggestion. How can we form a coalition and take it from where they stop?
Okay, thank you very much. And the
Thank
last
you.
question before we go back to the speakers to treat this question is going to be, let's try once more, Uthman Oyabanji. Can you please unmute yourself and go on?
If Othman will please, if you can raise up your hand, then I can easily identify you.
Uthman is raising his or her hand. Yeah, that's fine, but unable to unmute.
I can unmute it if I can just identify him.
Just start with UTHN.
No, I can't see him.
Okay, so can we have Clifford, because Othman is not yet ready. Clifford, can you unmute yourself, please? If you do not have your video on, I'm not going to call you up, please. Clifford.
Thank you very much for inviting me. My name is Clifford, speaking from Manchester. My question is to be addressed by Chief Nyawodo. There is a say that charity begins at home. And as people, for example, from the Southeast region, how much or to what extent do our political leadership support this restructuring agenda? I mean the governors, the senators, the House of Representative members, the local government chairman, and every other person holding position of power. How to what extent are they supporting this? The same question applies to the leadership, political leadership from the South-South, from the Southwest, and the Middle Belt.
Okay.
Because, yeah, that's my question. Thank you
very much. So we take the last one. Clifford now is done. Dan, are you able to unmute Othman?
I haven't even seen him. I can't see him. I can see all those who have raised up their hand. I have not seen him.
Raising his hand.
Okay. I used to see him before, but I cannot see him now.
Okay, so on that note, I would
let's take the answers then.
You know, sadly, Chief Nyawodo, while he was addressing us before, I don't know if he's still here because I think his connection has gone out again. So I would now allow Yinka Odumakin to take that question that was addressed to him. Yinka Odumakin, please. Can you address that question that was directed at you, please?
Okay. The question was direct. I think we need to begin to connect with ourselves. For instance, if you are talking about Daniel, who is hosting this event tonight, Daniel will remember how in 2010, how we used to connect in London, the days of Save Nigeria Group, and we are still here today. Chief Nwodo,
when he became Ohanese president, I put a cloth across to him and he said, oh, I'm coming to Lagos. That was how he came to Lagos. We met at Adebanjo's house. Then we had a meeting between South, West, and Southeast. Extended to South, Middle Belt. Today we have the Southern and Middle Belt Leaders Forum. So we need to begin to having these clusters around these issues that want progress for Nigeria, and that no section of Nigeria should enslave the other, and that we should make Nigeria an equitable society. For those who have said, oh, you are wasting your time to restructuring, let us dismantle Nigeria. I will say no. Where this is where it starts, from talking, from restructuring. Israel went to their king, restructure this polity. Your father used a stronger whip on us. Can you use another one? I said, you should come back. When they came back, said, well, my father has used Scorpion, has used a whip on you. I'm going to use Scorpion. And then at that point, it was to attend Israel. To attend Israel was not the first thing. Let us talk. Let us discuss. Let us restructure. And that is the stage I think that we are now. But I believe, and I'm convinced, that no section of Nigeria is born to be slave to another section, and we must insist we have free bonds in Nigeria, and that Nigeria should be a country of equal opportunities, equal rights. That we have lived for, and that we must achieve. Thank you.
Can you also, Yinka, before you leave, can you also speak to the question, before I bring Ayo Adebanjo back, the question regarding why the previous government before Buhari was not able to implement the, I think that question was asked by
oh yes, yeah, it was asked. Oh, clearly, yes. Well, there have been government before Buhari. I remember in the year 2000, Obasanjo as president, he called a meeting of leaders across Nigeria. The Southwest was led by our leader then, Adebanjo was in the delegation. South, Southeast, the 6 zones were in Abuja. And the 4 zones, interestingly, Southwest, Southeast, and North Central, spoke for restructuring. But it's Northwest and Northeast said they are coming back with their own feedback. We've not heard it from them to date. In 2005, Obasanjo had what you call a political conference. But under Jonathan, we were able to push until he organized a national conference in 2014. And Chief Adebanjo was at that conference. I was there. Madam Ankio Briggs was a delegate. And we had over 600 resolutions. They said we had little time before the elections. Jonathan said he would implement the reports if he became re-elected. He didn't win the elections. That report is still there. Now, the question is that this government also promised restructuring in their manifesto of 2015. But when they came to power, they said they did not understand what restructuring means. So there have been moves and builds. But what we have now is that that issue is not being addressed at all, because the 2015 victory was seen as the conquest of Nigeria. And we are saying that no section of Nigeria has been conquered by any section. We continue to push this issue. These matters are getting to the point of it. And I think the last point I would want to make, if Chief Modo is not here anymore, somebody asked that was Absalami's minister, and they sold that constitution to Nigerians.
Yes.
He is not here. I'm not spoken, but the point I want to make is that as at the time Absalami handed over in 1999, there was no clean copy of that constitution. In fact, there was no clean copy to swear Obasanjo in. Nobody knew the content of that constitution. Not to talk of anybody said that constitution to Nigerians.
Okay, so thank you very much. Before I'll bring back Adebanjo, I want our sister Ankio Briggs to also address the question by Yahaya that bordered on why could the last government not implement the constitution that you people attended, the constitutional conference that you people attended. Ankio Briggs, you have the floor now.
I think that Yinka Odumakin has answered that question very clearly, and I'm sure that Adebanjo will also be able to answer that. Very simply, he said he would implement, and he didn't come back, and no, that just goes to show that nobody knows tomorrow. But if you remember, the report was presented in August, September. We finished around August, if I believe, and elections already, campaigns were on fiercely, and like Yinka said, this incoming government or supposed incoming government at that time promised that they would restructure Nigeria. So here we are. Before I go, let me state again that at the end of the day, if we Nigerians from the southern region and the middle belt are not going to be able to stand and categorically say what we, nobody is advocating for a war. I was also caught up in the civil war. I'm surprised that Nai John Wodo is saying that he's an old man. Him and I were born in the same year, so I don't see that as being extremely old, as not to be able. I think Pa Adebanjo, yes, I agree, but not John Wodo. Anyways, to be very, very clear on this, I will stand and wait, because it seems like I'm moving fast ahead of people like Pa Adebanjo and maybe my father, E.K. Clark. And I'm sure that at the end of the day, their wisdom will show us that perhaps I have waited, and maybe we will catch up, because I sincerely do not believe that this government will take any step to restructure Nigeria. Yeah. And yes, I do agree that people in diaspora don't appreciate and don't understand that they have a role to play in diaspora. Nobody in their right mind will today get up and say they want to go out on demonstration. If you do, you do so at the risk of your own life. Our representatives, yes, I agree, and I've always said this, that our representatives and the governors at this point in time now, if they didn't know it then, they must know it now, that they have to make the primary decision and make that decision in our favor to call for the restructuring of Nigeria. I believe that the people in power, Buhari's government, will not allow or want restructuring. But hey, let us agree with our fathers that they should go ahead and continue to negotiate for restructuring. I will go in for that, but I also know that they will not accept it. So it will now be where Yinka has said, or Wodo has also said, well, if it comes to that, then so be it. But I don't think that any one of us today is advocating for war in Nigeria. What we're advocating for is justice and equity and liberty.
Thank you very much. That's a fine place to leave it. I would be bringing Pa Ayodele Adebanjo to now take those questions once more. Sir, you are on the spotlight.
Thank you very much. Before I take that question, I think I would like to make this positive statement about President Jonathan's attempt to restructure the country. A lot of people don't know all the facts. How about the fact that he started it, why didn't implement? Forgetting the fact that it was of all the former presidents, it was he who took positive steps. Seems to be shouting for sovereign national conference until cause of restructuring. All the government refused to set up the type of constitutional conference that is set up. He set them up, and I still challenge Buhari today. He cannot set up a constitutional conference that is superior in quality, personnel, and intelligence than that constitution. Now, people are very unfair to Jonathan. By the time we finish, as Ankio Briggs said, how many months for us? And at that time already, the National Assembly had become antagonistic to him. They would do it. And he did one thing which many people, the public, are forgetting it today. When he was handing over to Buhari, I saw it and he said, this is the most important document I'm handing over to you. I hope people remember.
Yes.
But when Buhari got to office, he said, well, he was not going to touch it.
Yeah.
So don't let us forget all this at all.
Yeah.
It's unfair to be saying Jonathan started it, he didn't complete it. He did his best there, and government is a continuum. And if these people agree that restructuring must be done, why are you being technical by saying who set it up? What is the law there? There's no referendum. And I answered by saying, if you believe what we did in 2014 is right, put out what you feel is you don't want that. What is what you don't agree with? Put in what you agree with and let us move forward. If you are sincere. All the others say, why did he do it? Now, if you condemn the way he set up the constitution, if you are sincere about setting and restructuring, why don't you set up your own constitution in your body? And agree to it. But what is not sincere? And I said this publicly. He is not sincere. All the qualities of integrity he lacked. From 2007, he had been promising to restructuring. I campaigned for him and I felt in 2007. I have said it publicly. Like Adeshino and Garuba Shehu, they have not refuted it. And he himself has not refuted it. And when Bakari was going to be his running mate, they promised restructuring. He did nothing. Even under this government, which Tinubu foolishly put us into, for which we are suffering today, there was restructuring of the manifesto. What have they done about it? Even after coming to office, they set up a committee recommending restructuring. What have they done about it? There's no integrity there. Is that the government of deceit, government of propaganda? And as people are talking of what action, we have already given you the ground for action. Nobody wants violence. But when you don't allow constitutional things to, if you don't allow peaceful change, violence will be inevitable. That's a common thing. All that we are doing now is that we have told you. And don't be bothered. We are not asking, we are not begging the North to agree to restructuring. We don't want to beg you to be part. We don't want to beg to be part of Nigeria. If you don't want us in Nigeria, we get out. But if you want us in Nigeria, you must agree on the terms on which we are going to live together. Simple. But all that we are doing is that, well, we have done our best. The youth element, all of you are talking grammar abroad, come out and do the demonstration. We shall back you up. If anybody leads to any other thing now that say, if you don't want restructuring, so there is no Israel. There is no, I don't necessarily say that. I have said that not enough.
Thank you.
Buhari can't force this form of government, form of government on us in this country. And if he does not do restructuring now, that is the end of Nigeria.
Thank you very much, sir. We will be getting to the third phase of this question. We'll be taking questions from Lady Melaine Onyocha, then Oge Ozofo, Chido Onuma. Get ready, please. Lady Melaine Onyocha, please go ahead with your question. Can you unmute yourself, please? Melaine, can you unmute yourself, please?
I tried to unmute her.
Yes, that's fine. She's now on mute. Go ahead.
Good evening, everyone, and special evening to my role model, Tiffany Wood. You're welcome, and I've listened to everyone that spoke. But this is also not a question per se, or should I call it a question to Lady Briggs. Twice you made mention of being so sure they're not ready to restructure. My main question is, have we spoken to any of them, and what is their reason? We want to know the main reason why they do not want to restructure. Whoever that does not like the president now, that does not want to restructure, or the government now, can they tell us exact reason, just one reason why they do not want to restructure? Maybe then we can tackle the problem. That's just my contribution and question.
Hello. Oh gosh. Hello?
Yeah.
Okay, you can hear me. Mazi, can you hear me? Okay, well, I mean, first of all, it's not a secret that Buhari said, even before his election, even when Jonathan was president and when we were at the national conference, that he did not believe in the national conference. I think my father, Adebanjo, will confirm that, and so will Yinka Odumakin. So before he even came into government, it was very clear that he doesn't believe in restructuring. And since they've been in government, this APC government has been on board systematically through their ministers, through the Minister of Information, even through the governor of Kaduna State, before they appointed him as the chairman of the so-called restructuring committee to understand what it means. They have made it clear at one time or the other that they are not interested in restructuring. We've been called Professor gosh, I can't, his name is not coming, but he has also said that anybody who is asking for restructuring is an enemy of Nigeria. They've called us greedy. They've called us people who are looking for appointments. The vice president had referred to us, people who are asking for restructuring, as people who are looking for a political appointment. So I think that should make it very clear to us that they do not want to restructure Nigeria, and they've systematically given their reasons for restructuring Nigeria. But like Adebanjo said, if Nigeria is restructured, they will be the major beneficiaries, because if everything you own is going to go to you and you just pay a percentage when we restructure Nigeria, because that's federalism, then they will be the major beneficiary. But it is this attempt to lord it over everybody else that is making them to resist restructuring, because it will give everybody a right to autonomy, a right to self-determination within their state. So, I mean, that's my take and my understanding of it, based on these reasons that I have given to you. I don't know if I have answered your question.
Okay. Thank you very much. I think Adebanjo is. Adebanjo, if you can hear me, can you please unmute? I think you're saying something. Adebanjo, I can see you are trying to say something. Can you unmute yourself? Dan, can you help?
Yes. Now,
yes.
Please.
Yes, go ahead.
To that lady asking Briggs, we are just being diplomatic. I have said it openly before. I don't fear anything. I'm already 92. Buhari will not restructure this country because the Northerners are the beneficiaries of this awkward constitution. I have said it before. He is not interested. And if you remember, the moment he came in, he said the document of 2014, he has thrown into the archive. All this question we are talking about is just to expose him. I have never believed that he's going to do it. Yeah. And I've said it before. When you talk of so So the lady asking the question, have you ever asked him or something? He's not interested. All the campaign we are doing now is to convince our own people too, who are being led falsely to think that there's savior Buhari. If Buhari is only interested in dominating this country, like the caliphate will do, but we want to forget the past. We want to look forward. The more we say it, the more it confirms our own position that he's not interested. For example, the lady had the question. All the time we have been talking about this structure since he came into office. Has he ever made a public statement about it? To assuage those of us who are agitating for it, that no, it is not necessary. Like somebody said earlier on, he was going to ask whether this constitution is the constitution, the problems are constitution, is whether the constitution or the people who run it. It is the constitution. If you people take your time to find out what is in this constitution, you know why we are talking. Time does not allow us to go into everything. Under this constitution, Buhari is the most powerful president in the whole world. He will not like to give that up. Under this constitution, they decided how to divide our revenue. Under this constitution, they created states and local government at their own pleasure. Ask them, what is the measure of the number, the way they created states in the country? How did they create local government? So they say that they have that number. It's all arbitrary. But we don't want violence. That is why we talk of sovereign national government. Let us sit down. When you military force yourself to office, then you want to go. Give us the chance to go back to where we started. And that is the origin of the sovereign national conference. That is the origin of restructuring. Say, well, let's agree. If you want to live together, some people are talking now. If you are sincere about it, let us agree to live together. If you are going to live together, what are the conditions of living together? You can't go to any company without agreeing on the memorandum of association. And all these things we are talking of is only show that we are apostles of peace. But if peace will not go, as I've said, the question of separation is automatic. The question of secession is automatic. But we will have done our best to show that we don't want to go, but if you want to force slavery on us, we will reject it.
Thank you very much. Chidonuma, please, can you unmute yourself and ask your question, Chidonuma? After Chid, Ogozofo.
Thank you very much for having me. I'd like to commend you guys for this wonderful initiative. Just a few preliminary points. I think this fixation on Buhari doesn't help this conversation. I mean, restructuring had been on before Buhari came to power, and I'm sure it will be on when he eventually leaves power in 3 years' time. So we should look beyond Buhari and remain focused. But also just to highlight the point that Chief Adebanjo made, which to a great extent was the position taken by Chief Bola Ige, which I think is fundamental in understanding the whole concept of restructuring and what needs to be done, and which is we need to determine whether we want to stay together as one country. And if the answer to that is yes, then it's followed by the next question, under what conditions. But in also addressing that question, we shouldn't make it an issue of we versus them. I think we need to make clear our position on what, for those who are pushing restructuring, and I've been writing about this, I've written 3 different books on my position, so to say, on restructuring. We need to, I personally do not think that Nigeria can be restructured along ethnic nationality lines any longer. There are those who believe that. So my recommendation is perhaps we can agree on having a minimum program or a minimum agenda for restructuring, which we can push across the country, north, east, south, west. We're talking about resource control. We're talking about citizenship right and so on. The idea, in my own estimation, is that we want to build a modern egalitarian society, which will be beneficial to everybody, whether you are in the north or in the south. So there are a lot of things that we need to go into this restructuring conversation. I think it's important that perhaps maybe we set up a committee or something to provide a minimum program or a minimum agenda that seems to bring these issues under one platform that is clear, that people can comprehend, and I'm sure at the end of the day will be acceptable to the greater majority of Nigerians.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, okay, also, can you now ask your own question?
Thank you also for Oge. It's my name. I'm speaking from Germany, and I'm the coordinator of Ndi Igbo in Germany. It's unfortunate that our dear Nyawodo is not more there, but it looks that the whole issue we are talking about boils down on the old story of who is going to bail the cat. Our dear respected Ayodele has told us categorically that this present administration is not going to restructure. And the last speaker has actually touched on so many good points. I want to speak from the side of my brothers in the Southeast. We have been ravaged with a lot of economic sabotage and political intimidation. And I think this supersedes the general talk of restructuring in Nigeria. And that makes the problem in Southeast special, because we have a school of thought who believe that, just like some of us have already said here, that it doesn't make sense to start talking about restructuring because it's not going to happen. So the best way is to have a referendum. And my question is, especially to Yinka, if I say the name correctly, or the Ayodele, does he have any idea why it is difficult for somebody who is at the helm of affairs to pay attention to this question of referendum? That is also one of the people's rights to do. And that is a double-edged sword for those of us in the Southeast. We're talking of restructuring, it's general, and one can itemize it into a lot of economic activities, the international airports that is not there in the Southeast, the depleted infrastructure, I don't want to name all of them, the economic activity that is centered in Lagos, the lack of any operating wharf in the whole of Southeast, even though everybody knows that the Igbo man is, all what he does is business. So when you put all this in together, then the question is, as one of the contributors has said now, what are the process we are going to do to even get somebody to listen to this referendum appeal, not to talk of the general restructuring? Politically, we don't have a way out. Sorry, I got interrupted. Hello?
No, continue speaking now. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So what I'm trying to say is that the Southeast has really had it the worst for a long time, and as Nyanwood has said, the civil war has not ended for us. Our parents down home and our sisters are being, I don't want to use the dirty word, but you know what I mean. They are being subjected to the most inhuman treatment one can endure in a political setup where everybody's supposed to be in the same country. So my question is, restructuring and referendum, which of them does Pa Ayodele think should take priority right now? And what does he think should be the political mindset of the Southeasterners?
Thank you very much, Ogechukwu. Now I am going to bring in, I believe that's Dr. Okenwa. Dr. Okenwa, if that is what I'm thinking, Okenwa Mosu, can you please unmute yourself? and ask your question. Make it brief, please. Dr. Kenwa, you have the floor.
Am I loud now?
Yes. Is that Dr.
Okay.
Kenwa Wilson?
Yes, that's him. That's him.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
First of all, kudos to you, Mazi, okay, for pulling this off. I think this is a beginning of what needs to be done repeatedly. And Nyangwodo had left, but
I think he's back. He's back on.
Okay. Our mutual friend, Chubo Kadibo, should be very proud of Nia performance, especially today's performance. But that's the contribution from my Yoruba brethren and Pa has been very encouraging. What I wanted to ask, and maybe, well, it's actually a question. I've heard about the focus on the Constitution as the problem. So if the Constitution is the problem, what do you think is the best way to take the Constitution down so that we can bring up a new one? Because some people think that you do it through the National Assembly. Some people think it has to be done through the normal way, as our elder statesman had said. And I also listened to Ankio Briggs. I don't know if any of you is familiar with the proposal made by the Movement for New Nigeria about the devolution of the country into the Sharia North, the Middle Belt, the Lower Niger, and of course the Yoruba Federation. And of course, proceeding to that by taking down the 1999 Constitution, which everybody agrees is a fraud. If it's a fraud, why should we tolerate imposition of a fraud? So I think we should all focus on doing that, because we can get the sympathy of the West. I live here in the United States, and of course, but I've paid my dues in Nigeria. I was there during the 80s and 90s before making my second missionary journey. But the sympathy we are going to generate by saying that we are resisting imposition of a forged, fraudulent constitution, we can walk in anywhere and make this case. What it looks like we're afraid to say. I think we should take on the Constitution in a civic manner. If you are demonstrating, don't demonstrate because you don't have good roads, you don't have electricity, because you don't have those, because the Constitution is crafted in a way that you can't have any of those. So anyway, my question is, what do you all think about the proposed constitutional force majeure to take down the fraudulent imposed Constitution of 1999?
Okay, thank you very much. I will take two more questions before we go back to the speakers to answer these questions. I will take Ken Oguzie. Ken, can you take it quick? Ken, you're on.
Okay. All right. Hi. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much, Mazi, for the opportunity, and thank you, Adebanjo and Chief Odo, for joining us. So I just have a quick contribution, or more like just throwing something out there, which I've been thinking about, especially whenever we get into this discussion. So there seem to be a lot of consensus or discussions around how, the North particularly they are not fans of the restructuring. But I think one thing I think we also need to ask ourselves is what is the reaction or what is the position of some of the Southern elites, knowing fully well that the present government was aided by a lot of individuals who are beneficiaries of the present system which we have in Nigeria. So I think if we continue to discuss restructuring at some of the levels where the conversations are going without necessarily checking what is the pulse or what are the views of some of the Southern elites who have the capacity to at least move those discussions at a certain level, some of them representing us at the different chambers in Nigeria, then we might necessarily have not really started finding very productive ways around it. So I think there needs to be some level of accountability in terms of each of our representatives. What is their stance? What are some of the power brokers who have certain levels of influence? What is their stance on restructuring? Instead of us looking at it as more like things that are being done at the level which we are talking about now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Then the last person on this segment is going to be Folarin. Folarin, can you go ahead? Can you unmute yourself and ask the last question before we can get back to the speakers, please? Folarin, go ahead. Go ahead. You're on. Okay, if Folarin is not ready, can we take Okwa Gwaramwata? Go ahead. Can you unmute yourself?
Yeah, hello.
Go ahead.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Okay. Please, my name is Chief Anthony Okukaogo, yeah? And I'm live from Liverpool in England. What I wanted to add in all this, I've had the discussion, I've been following the discussion ever since. But I just want to say that these our leaders that we've got, Chief Nyanwodo and the power itself, you guys have been doing a wonderful job, and I want to commend you to continue doing that job that you have been doing. What I want to say basically is to Chief Nyanwodo. You were speaking and you talked about different ways you people have had meetings, how they bombed your place and every other thing. But please, I wouldn't like you to stop the struggle you are going through because of that. Every leader is elected, and once you have been elected, you have to sacrifice for your people, and that is what we call a leader. Leaders do sacrifice. And please don't be afraid. They will threaten you. They will do all sorts of things in order to withhold you back in the leadership that your people have elected and entrusted in you. Keep doing what you are doing. Keep pushing. If it is not you, it might be for your generations to come. And it's very, very important. So I know we have stayed too long in the meeting, and I would just like to leave it there now and say thank you very much.
Thank you very much once more. Chief Nyanwodo, can you now please respond to this? And every other person, I think there are people raising their hands for the second time. Sadly, we are coming to the end of this segment.